ask any question that you want, and we'll be responding to them at the end of this presentation. Without further ado, Thierry and Emilie, welcome. So yeah, please tell us a bit more about yourselves and your background.
Okay, so you start, Emilie.
Yes, thank you, Thierry. So good morning, everyone. So I'm Emilie, I'm Product Manager at EvidentIQ, and I'm also in charge of the PatientLive platform, so a platform to get quick insight from patients and caregivers that we will present today. I'm really happy to be part of this webinar and to present PatientLive today.
Thank you, Emilie. And so thanks, Thierry. Nice first name to have introduced us. So now it's my turn, Thierry Escudier. Many people may know me in the past. I've been working in the pharma industry for more than 30 years in clinical research and in corporate organization. And also, as you may know, I'm very much passionate by patient centricity. And recently, I started to work as an independent consultant, and I'm working to help EvidentIQ, and in particular, I would say the people working in the field of the patient centricity and patient data to work, I would say, with the pharma industry and to build, I would say, a strategic, I would say, offer. And that's what we are going to present with Emilie, is the importance of getting patient insight as early as possible. So I think I can move now. Thierry, we don't hear you. You have the mute.
Yeah, I wanted to say, well, thank you, yeah, Thierry and Emilie. So yeah, Thierry, the stage is all yours.
Okay, thank you. Many people maybe around today, I would say the presentation are aware about the importance of patient insight, but for those who are not so much used to it, I think it's good to, in fact, use the FDA statement that you can find, I would say, on the FDA website, which explain why it's so important to collect patient insight, because they strongly believe that it's very important to benefit from the patient experience, their needs, and also their priorities in terms of what they would like to get as, I would say, new compound. And therefore, also it is very important is the FDA is stating that they consider the patient as expert of their condition to live with their pathology. And therefore, they are in a unique position to, in fact, contribute to the drug development for the benefit of both, I would say, the patient population, as well as, of course, those who are developing the drugs. That is to say, the pharmaceutical industry. And I would say that the EMEA has the same type of statement, so there is a common understanding and position of the two major agencies across the world. Now I would like to present a very busy slide. I know it's maybe too much busy, I would say, on the screen, but I really suggest that you go on to the Upati website. So for those who do not know Upati, that's an organization which was almost created, I would say, 10 years ago. It was in IMI, I would say, a project, that is to say, funded by the European Commission and with the pharma industry through the EFPIA. And the magic of the Upati, I would say, is that it's a group of people from pharma industry, but also from academics and also from patient groups that are training patient as their own or through, I would say, patient groups, patient association, to get, I would say, a better understanding of what is, in fact, the drug development, in order that they are trained to understand and to be, I would say, contributor to the, I would say, drug development. And on this busy slide, you can see, if you start on the left side in the blue box and you go on the right side to the end, it means that the patients, when they are trained, they can help, I would say, the pharma industry and the academics also, because academics also are doing clinical trials, to, I would say, give their better insight regarding, I would say, their needs, their expectation. And as you can see, in the long journey of drug development, starting on the research side and up to the post-approval stage, the patient can help, I would say, on many different features. And why the slide is a little bit busy, but once again, I think it's really important because it shows that how much, I would say, the patient can help at many stages. On the upper level, you can see that it is said high expertise in disease area. That is to say, for those activities, it's better when patients are really understanding, I would say, their therapeutic condition, and because they can really help, I would say, the pharma industry looking to, for example, the research priorities. Whereas on the bottom side, it's less required to have, I would say, an expertise in the disease. That is to say, maybe the patients are more naive. They are less patient expert, as sometimes it is said in the industry. But still, they can bring, I would say, a lot of, I would say, practical consideration regarding clinical trials. And for example, if you think about one very important topics, which is informed consent, of course, a naive patient that you would expect to be part of your clinical trials would, I would say, be able to let you know that, in fact, your informed consent is absolutely not understandable for, let's say, a naive patient that would be, I would say, recruited into a clinical trial. And by this way, and I really like this slide because it shows that how much, I would say, it can be very important to, I would say, work with patients and to involve them from the early stage in the drug development and to make them, I would say, as a true partner of your, I would say, drug development journey. If you, I would say, work with them as partner, you create also mutual understanding and you create, I would say, trust, which is so important in our field. Having worked in the pharma industry side for more than 30 years, as I said, this is so important that, in fact, the end user that are the patient are really understanding why this is so complex to, I would say, make drug development, and why now on the pharma side it's so important to consider the patient as, I would say, expert, and that it really brings, I would say, a very high value. Once again, if you want to have more information regarding Upati, you go on the website and there is many information regarding what they do, and they are located in different countries in what we call the national platform, and it's very wise to go there. If I try also to dig a little bit more into the patient centricity, I like to use, I would say, that slide that is coming, I would say, from a publication from Applied Clinical Trials. And I think it's really a fundamental approach, which when you want to build, I would say, a patient centricity strategy, there is, in fact, 4 pillars that are starting on the left side by understanding the patient, and very much, I would say, of what we are going to discuss with Emilie after, in terms of how you understand them. Can you meet, I would say, their needs? Then are you able to work with the patient? And of course, then engaging the patient. So on the long journey of drug development and post, I would say, drug development when the drug is on the market, there is a lot of things to do. And if you are, I think, following this type of organization, as you can see, and if you are really having strong pillars, then your patient strategy, patient-centric strategy is going to be very, I think, impactful, and therefore you will have, I would say, a lot of good support. One thing also I want to add is that there is absolutely no debate about all type of patients are really needed in terms of, I would say, the expertise, because you could have, I would say, patients through patient association, patient group, patient advocacy, you could have patient expert, but once also I said earlier on is regarding the naive patient that you can get, because all of them can bring, I would say, different type of information and explanation about their needs. And I think it's really important, if you keep that in mind in your strategic approach, that working with them from the early stage, having those 4 pillars where you try to get, I would say, what they think, and you may have heard that several times, work with patient, do not think in lieu of them, because you cannot, I would say, understand sometimes what they are experiencing. And to be able to have that, I would say, strategy, you have different, I would say, means, and this is applying not only for clinical, but of course, this is applying also for the whole, I would say, drug life cycle. And why we are going to talk about PatientLive is because we think that that's the easiest way to get, I would say, patient insight. Because if you look to the graph, of course, the most complicated, I would say, stuff you may put in place would give you a lot of more information, but then it's far more costly, cost and time consuming, and then the complexity of implementation is far greater. Whereas in using the PatientLive, I would say, tool, you will see that you can get very, very easy some type of information, and it can, I would say, refer to the slide I showed you before. So that's the topic of today, is to collect real-time patient insight, to get very, I would say, reliable answer to your question. And once again, if that's in fact matching a little bit the slide of the Upati, that is to say, if you start from the R&D and you go to the commercial, I would say, operation, therefore, all those type of department within pharma can get, I would say, some very good insight and some very good information regarding, I would say, the patient needs and patient expectation. If you look to, for example, what it can bring to you in terms of, let's say, general project, it can help to understand the patient experience in terms of disease or treatment burden. It can help you to identify unmet needs. It can measure patient perception. You can test some concept. For example, if you want to put in place something in particular, like a digital application or something like this into your, I would say, drug development, you could have a very quick answer, yes or no, we like it or not. You can develop, and I will come back after in the next slide on the patient-centric material for clinical trials. It can help you to optimize your design, and you can test some concept and service. And the focus on the clinical project that I'm pushing a lot, because I really believe that it can really help people from clinical development and clinical operation. It can help you to understand for example, the needs of the patient, and therefore it can help you to assess your target product profile. You can evaluate some type of the protocol evaluation parameter. For example, if you think about how many visits you would accept, or how many blood sampling you would accept, or things like this, you can test, I would say, that very easily and very quickly. It means that you can also check if the study endpoints are valuable for the patient perspective. You could optimize, in a way, also your design of the clinical trial, and this is in link with the evaluate, I would say, statement, because by this way you will, I would say, organize your protocol with more chance to get, I would say, patient and to keep them when you have recruited them. You can do sort of feasibility across, I would say, the patient population that are part of the community. You can test also some of the documents. You can ensure your documents are, I would say, patient-centric, and then you can test some of the documents you want to use, or some of the new services you want to use into your study. And as a summary for, I would say, my part, it's really, I would say, important to understand that it's really quick to do that with PatientLive, and also it helps you to make the better strategic decision. And I think now this is the turn of Emilie.
Yes, thank you very much, Thierry. So the objective will be really to show you how it works in terms of functionalities and what you can do with this platform. So as Thierry said, the objective is really to help you prepare a meeting, or also to help you optimize the clinical or patient projects that you will conduct. So it can be at the beginning with validating the questionnaire of your survey that you will conduct with a more complex methodology. It will also help you at the end of a study that you have conducted, deep dive into a topic that has been raised during this study. And it can also help you optimize the clinical trial you will conduct with assessing the feasibility of this clinical trial, or also optimize the design. So the patients that will be reached through this platform will be patients, members of Carinity. So Carinity is an online patient community of 500,000 patients and caregivers. And this platform is available in 6 countries. So the United Kingdom, Spain, France, Germany, and Italy, and also in the US. So with PatientLive, you will be able to target all these 6 countries. However, as the objective is really to get quick insights, we have not included all the conditions that are available on Carinity, but you have here the 36 conditions that are available on the platform. So you have conditions in neurology, in the neurology field, also in respiratory field, and we also have 18 conditions in oncology. So it can be bladder, breast cancer, or lung cancer. And regarding the other condition, as I said, we have rheumatoid arthritis. We also have respiratory diseases such as COPD or asthma. So now in terms of functionalities, so with this platform, you will really be autonomous because you will have the opportunity to implement yourself your different questions. So it will be posed from 1 to 5 questions. And here you have an idea of the type of questions you can implement. So you can have single choice question, multiple choice question, scales from 0 to 5, knowing that patients will be asked to fill from 1 to 5 stars. You can also add a text field, which is quite interesting because you will have access to the real verbatim of the patient or caregivers. And finally, you can also add a numerical field question. In addition to this type of question, you can also include videos and images. So this will help you, for example, validate a digital campaign, or also show a screenshot of the design of a clinical trial if needed. And finally, you can also add a screener question. And this screener question is a question to which patients can answer by yes or no, and only the patient who will answer yes will access to the rest of the question. And of course, will be the only one included in the analysis. So even if you have this autonomy in the implementation of the pool, we will of course validate the wording that will be used in the different questions. Will also help you changes in the changes in the questions if needed, just to be more understandable for patients, etc. So we will support you in all of these steps, and also we will make sure that we reach the target of respondents that you need with sending invitation emails. So it will be on our site. And in addition to this autonomy, it is an easy to use platform. So as you have seen before, so this is 1 to 5 questions, and it's really intuitive to implement these questions. And also here, regarding the set of the target population, it's really intuitive and easy to use. So you will select your country. So it can be one of the EU5 countries, so France, the UK, Germany, Italy, or Spain, or the US. You will also select the condition and the relation to the condition, so if it's a patient or a caregiver or both. And then you will also select the number of respondents. Also, what makes it easy to use is that you do not need any ethic committee validation and to conduct this type of polls because it's really easy questionnaire, also with 1 to 5 questions, and it's qualified as a market research survey. So you do not need this kind of validation. And finally, what is interesting with this platform is the speed, because you will have quick access to the data. Once the first respondent has answered to the poll, you will have access to the results. And of course, it will be updated to each new respondent. And you will have different ways of accessing the results. So first here, what is shown in the screenshot is the dashboard that will be updated to each new respondent. And in this dashboard, you will have the number of respondents that you have to date, and also for each question, the first results, meaning what were the items quoted by the patients. And also, you will have the opportunity to export the results. So you will have 3 types of ways to export the results. So first, the raw data. So you will have access to the answers of each respondent. And this also will allow you to have access to the real verbatim of the patient and to make your own analysis if needed. And you will also have access to a table of results if you need, and reports in PDF format that you can share with your colleagues or other persons. So this is for how it works in the platform. And now I will show you some examples of polls that we have conducted, and so how the results were used by our customers. So first, I will show you some examples of polls that were conducted to optimize clinical projects. So on the left, on the right side, you will see some polls that we have conducted. So you can see that we have different topics that have been covered. So it can be from the optimization of the design of a protocol of a clinical trial. It can be also in the optimization of this clinical trial, but the optimization of the information notice that will be shared with the patient. And it can also be used to assess the preferences in terms of route of administration, or also in terms of treatments more globally. And finally, it can also help to evaluate the feasibility of a clinical trial. And you can see here that in the different polls that we have conducted, we have involved different countries. So it can be the EU5 and the US countries, or only one country, such as the UK or France. And we also have involved different numbers of respondents. So it can be, for example, for the first one, 300 patients with multiple sclerosis, or for the third one, 250 patients with psoriasis. So on the left, you will see more globally a poll that we have conducted for a customer. And this poll was a 5-question poll, and we included a screening question. And this screening question was patients who have participated to a clinical trial before answering the survey. And we collected 500 answers, and it was really quick because we only needed 3 days. And the different conditions that were involved were breast cancer, asthma, or COPD. And what raised during this poll and how it was used by our customer is first to understand the willingness of patients to participate in a clinical trial. So we can see that a lot of patients were willing to participate. And also it gave the customer some ideas to better optimize their clinical trial. So for example, to improve their informed consent, or also to improve the way of retaining patients into the clinical trial. So the second types of examples that I wanted to share is for more marketing surveys. So we can see here on the right that it has, as for the clinical project, a lot of topics that have been covered. So for example, it can be the understanding of symptoms or of the condition more globally. So for example, the fatigue. Also, to assess the awareness of patients regarding comorbidities or regarding their condition itself. It can also be to test a digital campaign or here a website to support patients. So it can be a lot of things, and it may echo with what you said previously. And as for the clinical project, you can see that we have involved a lot of patients in this polls. For example, 100 patients with Crohn's disease, COPD, or asthma, or other diseases that were covered as well. And on the right and on the left, you will see a poll that we have conducted. And this poll was also a 5-question poll with 1 screening question. So it was patients who used injectable treatments. And we reached 100 type 2 diabetes patients in 5 days. And the objective was really to understand the expectation of patients regarding the recycle of paints. And you can see that we had a lot of insight regarding how to recycle pens, what were the willingness of patients to implement a program to recycle these pens. So this was quite interesting for our customer. So now I will show you how we will help you in the different polls that you will conduct. So first, myself or someone in the team will help you in the training of all the team that will use the platform. So we will support you in training all the members of your team, and also we'll show you new functionalities if there are some. We will also show you and help you in the optimization of your poll, so in the creation of the different questions, also in the changes in the wording of the question if needed to be more understandable to patients and caregivers, and to make it more patient-centric. And we will also support you in the follow-up of the project, so we will keep you updated in real time about the number of respondents to date and what are the actions that we plan to do to invite more patients in the poll, and also we will answer all your questions if needed. And in order to help you better understand how the platform works and what will be the insight that can be useful for you, and how you can use the results of PatientLive surveys, we would be happy to offer you a free trial from 1 country one condition with 30 credits, meaning 30 patients. And of course, if you are interested, you can contact myself or Karine or Thomas as well if you have some question or need more information in the platform.
All right. Well, thank you, Thierry and Emilie. We have actually received quite some questions from the audience. I'll start and shoot them out to you, and yeah, let you respond to them. So one of the questions that we had is, has our platform ever been utilized or used in Japan or in China?
So unfortunately, the platform is available only in the EU5 countries and in the US. But if you have some patient project that you want to perform in Japan and China, we have done some with partners, but they were with more complex methodologies, not in PatientLive.
Okay. So another question that we do have is, can you tell us how the data is extracted? So can it be extracted directly into a SAS or as an Excel file?
Yeah, of course. So the data will be extracted in Excel file for the raw data and for the table of results. So yeah, so it's an Excel file, and also you have a PDF report that can also be available. And if you need a SAS format, it can be easily modified from the Excel file.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So is it possible to add new conditions on PatientLive?
So yeah, it depends, of course, of the needs and of the size of our community. Because just to give you a quick background, once we have implemented the different 36 conditions that we have shared previously, we have implemented these conditions because they were conditions with the highest, biggest communities, with the highest numbers of patients, and also which were quite active with the possibility to get quick insights from patients and caregivers. So if we want to add a new condition, it is possible. But of course, it will depend on the size of our communities, on the needs, and also on the way it will be used on the platform. So yeah, if you have a need, we can talk, but it is possible.
Okay. So yeah, questions keep coming in. I think we still have 5 here that I would like to ask you if it stops coming in. So does GDPR apply to PatientLive polls, and why?
GDPR does not apply to the PatientLive polls. So why? Because in the PatientLive, we do not collect personal data, meaning personal data. So this is data that will allow to identify directly or indirectly the patient. And with PatientLive, as it is only posed with 1 to 5 questions, so it will not request personal data from patient and caregivers. So this will not need to comply with it, or it will not. The GDPR will not apply to this kind of polls. But of course, we will check, and this is why also we check the different questions that are asked to the patient. It's because we need to ensure that this will not require patient to get personal data, and so that the GDPR will not apply to the poll. And of course, if for some reason you need to collect personal data, we will make sure that the GDPR will be applied to the poll with an information notice, etc., etc.
Okay. So I also have another question here that came in around licensing. So the question is it a yearly license giving unlimited access to all conditions, or is there a limited number of questions, surveys per year if yearly license? So can you guide us through that process of the licensing?
Yeah, of course. So as it is mentioned, so PatientLive works with license. So it is an annual license, and this license will allow you to have access to the conditions that we have shown previously. So it will depend on the license you want to have. So you can have a license for only 3 conditions, or a license for all the conditions. So it will depend on your needs and on what you want to do on PatientLive. But in terms of number of questions and survey, you will not be limited. So you can of course implement as many surveys as needed, with always 1 to 5 questions per poll, and also a screening question if needed. And what would just be needed is credits. So in addition to the license, you will need to buy credits, and 1 credit will equal to 1 respondent for some conditions, and for conditions with an incidence rate less important, such as in oncology, for example, you will have 1 respondent equal to 2 or 3 credits, depending on the condition.
Okay. But well, as a follow-up on that, is also another question that came in is pretty interesting. Is have you already set up trackers? Meaning with this, that's a set of questions repeated on a regular basis. With the objective of seeing some trends, or do we see this tool as a pure one-shot solution?
This platform is not really so with trackers. We do not have it on PatientLive because you can ask the same poll twice, but we will not ensure this will be the same patient. But it's possible to do this, and of course, we can do it on a regular basis. Like we can do 1 poll at the beginning of the year, 1 at the middle of the year, and 1 at the end of the year. So it's possible, but it will need to be duplicated, etc., etc. So this is possible, but this has not been made. And as it is quick insights, we can do it, and also see depending on your needs. So yeah, this is something that can be done.
Okay, thank you. So another one, we actually have a list. Maybe we'll have to cut it down at some point. But why 36 conditions? Why did we choose those 36 conditions?
So as I mentioned previously, we have chosen this 36 conditions due to the size of the communities, and also to the quick insight that can be available with this community. So this was the case for the 18 first conditions that we included in PatientLive. And we also included the oncology conditions due to needs from our different customers. So it can be, of course, depending on the size of our communities and the availability to have quick access to patient insights, but also depending on the needs of our customers.
Okay, I think we still have 2 to go, I think. So can you explain us, if we need an approval from an ethics committee with PatientLive?
So with PatientLive, you do not need an ethics committee. because it short polls from 1 to 5 questions, and it assess the satisfaction of the patient and caregivers. So this is not as a non-interventional study where you have a more complex methodology that needs to be reviewed by an ethics committee. So for these patient-live surveys, as it is satisfaction surveys and also surveys quick and with few questions. So this will not need an ethics committee review.
Okay, thank you. And I think that's the last one. Maybe I'll save this one for you, Thierry. So could you explain us in more detail in which situation it is important to kind of collect patient insights?
Sure, thank you, Thierry. But I think, as I explained at the early stage, is that you can collect patient insight, I would say, at all stages of your drug development and in the drug life cycle. I know in pharma we love to do SWOT analysis, so strengths, weakness, opportunities, and this type of stuff. And if you do the SWOT on the PatientLive, of course, as summarized, I would say the strength is that this is very quick. This is in a way quite cheap, and therefore I think the weakness, which is you cannot have more than 5 questions. But then the really opportunity of it is that you don't need to have, I would say, time-consuming regulatory or ethical process. So if you look to that, it means that whatever your stage of drug developer, and also whatever if you are really an early beginner in patient centricity or a very much experienced pharma company in patient centricity, this I would say tool brings to you, I would say, quick access to patient. And of course, if you need more, if you need to have in-depth review of your protocol, then you would work with the patient association. If you need to have, I would say, a true observational study, then you would have, I would say, the need to do something far more complex. But once again, if you look to the benefit of it, I think this is really a great tool, because it gives you, I would say, the very easy access, as Emilie showed, I would say, in the different use case. You have been able to see that there was a lot of, I would say, situation where you would be able to access to the patient. But I can see that there are more questions, so maybe Thierry, you want to address them. Thank you.
Yes. So and that's a good question. Also, it kind of bridges as well with our e-consent product somehow. So the question is, can this incorporate a virtual visit with the subject, for example, in the case of an adverse event? So when somebody wants to connect, around that.
I can take the question. So this will not incorporate a virtual visit with the subject. However, if you have an adverse event from the patient in this pause, we have 2 ways to handle this. So first, we can look at the different results each business day, just to ensure that we do not have any adverse event, and if we have some, to report it to our customer. And we can also create an account for the pharmacovigilance department, and to allow them to go into the platform every business day as well, once the poll is live.
Okay. So just a sign line here is we do have a solution for virtual visits. So if there is a specific need to kind of have that capability, it's something we could actually eventually discuss further. So that being said, we have a lot of areas already established in the program. So one of the questions is, what about orthopedics devices? Is that something we could be covering?
So as you mentioned, so we have quite a lot of different areas, such as neurology, respiratory, oncology, respiratory as well. And we can ask questions or a poll regarding the orthopedic devices, because it can be asked in a few polls, because it will concern different types of areas, but we do not have a specific orthopedic device area or community, I would say. But it is a subject that can be evaluated and assessed in a poll.
Okay, so I think we are clear. We have done all the questions, so that was quite a bunch. I would say thank you, Thierry and Emilie, for the presentation today, and thank you all for attending this webinar. If you want any more insights, on the PatientLive solution, or sign up for a free trial, please, get in contact with us. We will be pleased to engage a conversation with you and give you all the details you need. So, without further ado, thank you for attending, and have all a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.